Hey folks, Matt from artoftheimage.com. Canon 60 Mark II is out. We've been talking about it here on Art of the Image. Lots of people talking about it online, and I've been getting questions in. And one of the ones that keeps popping up, and I'm not going to read each of them, but I want to summarize them here, is should I buy the 60 Mark II or should I wait for the 70 Mark III? Now, a lot of times this comes with the note or the subnote that, they were disappointed, as I was, that there was no 4K video, and they're still hoping that the 70 Mark III will offer that, and then maybe that makes the 70 Mark III a better camera for you. But there's a lot of people wondering this right now. I've had several questions myself. I thought it out, and I've got some reasons here on why you should go one way or the other. In other words, should I buy the 60 Mark II now, or should I wait for the 70 Mark III? To summarize it right off the top, it really depends on what your needs are. I mean, that's basically what any camera purchase should depend on, what your needs are. Wants are fine too, budget allowing for it. But what are your shooting needs? I mean, different horses for different courses, and cameras are made for certain things. Cameras have certain strengths in certain areas. Video, as we were just talking about, if you're shooting a lot of video, if you're shooting video professionally, if you want to use it, even on YouTube now, most of us are wanting to shoot in 4K. Casey Neistat's shooting in 4K. I always say that. I like Casey. I follow him a lot. So I found it interesting when he switched, because for a while he didn't seem to care. And I think it's just a sign of the times that here, nowadays, in the middle of 2017, you need to be... And I think it's just a sign of the times that here, in the middle of 2017, you need to be shooting in 4K. You need to be future-proofing your work. You need to be using the most advanced resolution and codecs available to you so that your work doesn't look dated going into the future, going forward. And so, unless video is just a very casual thing for you. And even then, I look back at old footage that was shot in like 640 or something on very early cameras from video, very early video cameras. And I really wish I had at least 720 or 1080 now. 4K would have been sweet. But that just underlines to me that this is, it's a very real thing. When I look at some of the baby footage from my kids, it looks very dated when it's in some of the stuff that was shot in like 640 or even early 720. It's the resolution is just not great, especially on larger TVs now and on 4K TVs and a lot of devices. So yeah, video is a main thrust for you. If you're shooting professionally, if you're doing a lot of creative work with video, then I think you need 4K, and you might want to look at elsewhere than the 60 Mark II. You could wait to see the 70 Mark III. I think there's a good chance that we may get 4K on the 70 Mark III. Reason being that it's the APS-C flagship. I kind of get why Canon didn't want to. I don't think it was a good idea, but I get their thinking on why they didn't give it to us on the 60 Mark II, because it's the lowest of the full-frame DSLRs in their lineup. So they didn't want to be giving away everything. Although, again, this is one of those things where I think it was something that should have been there. But the 70 Mark III, conversely, is the top of Canon's APS-C sensor cameras. So it could be the first APS-C sensor camera from Canon. It could be the lowest price camera from Canon, DSLR camera from Canon, to give us 4K. I think there's a good chance of that. If you can wait, then certainly I think that would be the better option if you're shooting video. The options are to go elsewhere from Canon into Sony or even Nikon and get something that shoots 4K, or Panasonic. You can straddle two systems. Stay with a 6D right now, an original 6D, wait and see, or even get a 60 Mark II and use that for your photos, and use something like what I'm shooting this with, a G85, a GH4, a GX8, a GH5, and straddle two systems, because on the Panasonic side, they're beautifully enabled for 4K. So, should I wait? If you can, sure. And part of the waiting might be using, for instance, a 60 Mark II or another one of the Canons for your photo needs, and straddling into a system like the Panasonic system for your 4K video needs. For portrait work, if portrait work is the predominant thing you're shooting, if that's your main need that you need a camera for, then no, I wouldn't suggest waiting for the 7D Mark III. I would go ahead and get the 6D Mark II. The 6D Mark II is a fantastic full-frame camera. Got a little bit of a bump in resolution there, even over its competitors at 26 megapixels. It's probably one of the best value, best spec full-frame cameras for the price on the market right now, especially paired with the Canon 85mm f1.8, which is one of my favorite lenses from Canon, one of my favorite portrait lenses, period. I think it's a great value. Price-wise, it's a very good value, very good performing lens, and it's your classic portrait length, 85mm. I really like 85mm. Some people like a little shorter, some people like a little more length for their portrait lens. I think 85 on full frame is a very flattering length, and I really like it. There's a reason it's known as our traditional portrait length lens. Next up, sports and fast-moving wildlife. Should you buy the 6D Mark II or should you wait for the 7D Mark III? In this case, yeah, you might want to wait for the 7D Mark III. You might want to consider using a 7D Mark II or your existing 7D Mark II until the 7D Mark III comes out, because you've got some advantages in the 7D, what's going to be the 7D Mark III, what is currently the 7D Mark II. 7D Mark III will probably have a faster AF system than the 6D Mark II. The crop sensor, the 1.6 crop sensor, gives us more reach with our lenses, and that's why a lot of people shooting sports and wildlife like the 7D Mark II, and we'll get that as well with the 7D Mark III. And you'll likely also see a faster frame rate along with that better autofocus system. So for fast-moving subjects, that faster frame rate, the ability to shoot more frames per second, and that better AF system that I'm pretty sure we'll get with the 7D Mark III is going to be an advantage. That said, the 6D Mark II is no slouch. For a lot of people, 6.5 frames a second and a 45 cross-type AF system is going to be more than enough for even their sports and wildlife needs. So again, it comes down to your needs. The 7D Mark III will likely be a little better camera for sports and wildlife, but the 6D Mark II may be all you need. You may be perfectly happy with it. So again, it comes down to your needs. Last and not least is low light work. And there again, I'm back to saying no, the 6D Mark II would be the better option. Don't wait for the 7D Mark III. I see no way that the 7D Mark III will beat the 6D Mark II for low light. All else being equal, a full frame sensor is always going to beat a crop sensor. Now, don't go saying, oh, well, what about the full frame sensor from 10 years ago and comparing it to the most modern crop sensor. All else being equal means that if you take two cameras that just came out today, same tech, let's say both Digic 7, both from Canon, let's say the 7D Mark III was announced next month. The 6D Mark II is going to smoke the 7D Mark III for low light ability by nature of the fact that it's a bigger sensor and it has larger photo sites. Each of those pixels, each of those megapixels that compose our megapixel count are larger. In other words, more light gathering ability, and it's always going to be the case that all else being equal, full frame or even just a larger sensor period is going to be better than a smaller sensor. It's also going to give us better high ISO abilities and more workability in low light environments. So if you're shooting in a low light environment a lot, the 6D Mark II is going to be more suited for your needs and a better camera, a better choice for you than the 7D Mark III or even the existing 7D Mark II or any APS-C camera would be. So what I wanted to do is frame that there, as you could see, kind of touch on the various needs you might have and what your requirements might be, and why then a 6D Mark II might be better, or perhaps a 7D Mark III might be, as we saw in a couple of those cases there. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with me on the examples I've given here? Is there a different scenario where you might suggest that the 7D Mark III would be worth waiting for? Is there a different scenario where you think the 6D Mark II would be better? Do you just totally disagree and think you should go all out for a 6D Mark II? That's valid. Let me know why in the comments below. Let's discuss it. Love to hear your viewpoint. Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned. We'll be back soon here at artoftheimage.com.